Good morning and welcome to the Stahls TV Morning Show. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Josh, and we just got back from the ISS show in Atlantic City, and it was an awesome time. We spent 4 days out there, actually 5 days out there.
Yep.
So we had 3 days of trade show, which we're going to share a little bit of that experience with you today on the morning show. We had a full day workshop of education, and then actually the day we drove in, we spent inside of a customer shop shooting the next Stahls TV Blueprint in our shop visit series. So lots of exciting stuff that happened in Long Beach. Today's episode is all about those experiences, sharing what was popular, questions from customers, some of the stuff from the classes that you prepared. But before we go there, we always like to go to our Look of the Week. And so this week's Look of the Week winner,
Niger Sport. Okay, so this is a fashion film electric look done on a tokaji wear. Am I pronouncing that right?
I'm not even going to attempt it, but we'll go with it.
T-shirt. So what they did was just incorporated that stripe that's already in the garment by putting text in there with the fashion foam electric. So I really like how they utilized that.
Yeah, it's like the customization is integrated with the actual construction of the garment. So leveraging the fields that are available in contrasting colors, customizing that with fashion foam electric. And just a tip, you may be asking how they can print so close to the seam, perhaps by using a heat printing pillow. Those seams sort of sink in to the pillow when you're heat printing that. It gives you a nice flat, even pressing area. And congratulations. I mean, this is a fantastic look. Looks like it was actually manufactured with the garment. So that's our winner of this week's Look of the Week. And if you ever want to submit the Look of the Week, there are 3 ways to do that. You can email them to tv@stahls.com. You can share them to our Facebook page where we're broadcasting live today through Stahls Show and Tell, which happens every Saturday. Upload the photos of your looks. And last but not least, you can tag us on Instagram. And we want to welcome all of the folks viewing us today, whether you're viewing live on Facebook, attending through our GoToWebinar client, or for those of you that may be even listening afterwards on our podcast. The Stahls TV Morning Show happens every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we certainly welcome your questions throughout today's broadcast. Type those in, let us know that you're listening and you're there, and we'll stop at several points to answer questions. So, I want to hold off our Make It Monday until later in the episode because I'm so anxious to dive into what happened at Atlantic City. And so let's start with the workshop first.
Okay.
We did an all day, 6 hours of education in the workshop.
It was a long day, but we definitely had a lot of fun and a lot of stuff to cover. We went over a lot of different markets that you can reach with just a vinyl cutter and a heat press. And not only that, we dived in a little bit to the digital printing, full color, stuff that you can achieve as well.
Yeah, so we sort of broke it down by market and covered, I believe it was 7 different markets.
Right.
Some of the key ones that we covered that you could reach with your heat press were monogramming as a big overall trend and talked a lot there. We talked about children's apparel as being a top market, team sports as being a top market, local schools and businesses being
on-site printing.
On-site event printing was very popular there.
Yeah.
We
actually had some people there that were doing it.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. Yeah, and so those guys came up even before the session. I'm like, yes, we definitely have you covered, because we always go around the room when we start the class and say, what's one thing you came to learn today? List those on the board. And event printing, surprisingly enough, is sort of a trend in a growing area in the heat printing world. And while I was at the show, my wife actually spent the weekend at a dance competition for my daughter, and they were doing on-site event sales there as well. So lots of opportunities with the heat press for decorating on-site, and we're going to do more on that on future morning shows. So that was the first day. Lots of good questions, lots of good comments. And then we rolled into the actual trade show where, as Stahls TV, we had our own little theater area in the booth and did about 5 to 6 presentations a day. You want to walk us through what those were?
Yeah, so first we had Great Dane Graphics there. So he was showing a little bit about artwork creation whenever you're working with those full color images and how to take the artwork he creates for decorators and editing them in Photoshop and CorelDRAW.
Yeah, and Dane, for those of you that aren't familiar with the company Great Dane Graphics, basically they offer a subscription module where you can subscribe and download 200 pieces of artwork every month for a very low price. I think it's something like $25 a month to be able to do that. And the cool thing about their artwork is it's intended for the production processes. So he breaks a single file down 7 ways. And so you have a file that's optimized for direct garment printing. You have one that's optimized for vinyl cutting, print cut, screen printing, et cetera, et cetera. And so people sort of gathered around, and that kicked us off for the day, understanding how to set up that art and create good artwork for.
Right, and there were a few embroiderers there that were impressed that he actually does the artwork and digitizing for embroidery as well. So that definitely hit that side of apparel decoration. And then we went into the layering class with Bob Robinson. So he went over techniques that you can use to get 2 to 3 color designs with just heat transfer vinyl. So that was good for those customers that are kind of newbies when it comes to apparel decoration, and being able to use different colors that they're cutting out on their vinyl cutter and applying them together, such as a look that you're seeing here. So we have fashion film and glitter flake. He actually did this exact look in the booth, and just for customers being able to see that you can layer glitter flake on other materials, it was very intriguing for them.
Yeah, so when you talk about layering in looks like this, we have a couple different things that you need to consider. Number one is when you're working with 2 different materials that perhaps can apply at different temperature, although these don't. When you're mixing and matching, sometimes that happens. And Bob gave the tip that you always want to go for the hottest temperature for the longest amount of time to make sure that material reaches its melting point for durability. And then also the idea that anytime you're layering heat transfer vinyl, leveraging that fast tack application for background layers, just to prevent shrinking and making it easier to align subsequent colors. So those were some of the top tips in the layering classes. There's always a lot of questions on layering, like what order do I put it down in? Do I have to cut them all separate? Do I have to weed them all separate? And we have lots of tutorials on Stahls TV, complete guides actually, on how to layer heat transfer vinyl. Mike Koval had a presentation as well on heat printing bags, and we came up with this concept and said we want this to be one of our in-booth education items, because packaging accessories, adding more to your business outside of the t-shirt box, is really going to help you grow your sales. And so you have a couple looks from that class as well?
Yeah, so a lot of customers, heat printing bags isn't really new to them, but we wanted to show them new techniques that people aren't thinking of. And one of them is considering the accessory that you're printing on. So this lunch box was really easy to do, because it has a separate piece that you can just go ahead and lay on the plat in there, and that way you're getting a nice flat surface and you're not in the zippers, and extra pieces of it aren't in the way.
Okay, and that particular, so it's as much about not only the decoration and the technique itself, but really the construction of the bag or the item in your sourcing. And so companies like Wholesale Boutique, who provided this, tend to make it easier to get to the print location, since they offer contract embroidery themselves. They understand what it takes to hoop something or put it in a clamp system or get it onto your heat press to decorate it. Just like Sanmar, when they sell their jackets, they offer a unzippable hoop pocket that allows you to also split it on your heat press and load it on. So finding items that are easy to print, and we encourage customers in the workshop, when they're walking through the show, don't consider just what equipment am I buying. Spend a lot of time sourcing blank items that are really going to sell for your business.
Right.
So after printing bags, we have artwork, layering, printing bags, and then we talked a lot about foil, and this was your class, and it was one of the best attended, right?
Yeah, so it was very popular with a lot of attendees there, to say the least. The foil was fairly new to a lot of people there, and these are some of the looks that we showed in the booth. And people were so intrigued because they didn't know this was something that they could achieve with their vinyl cutter. So the adhesive process was very new to them. Even though they have seen foil before, they didn't know that they could achieve it without the entire screen print process.
Yeah, and so some of the things I like about this, so just to make sure everybody understands the workflow, you cut adhesive on your vinyl cutter, you heat press that down onto the garment after it's been weeded, and then you actually overlay your foil. This particular design that you're looking at, the Love Yoga design, has been executed in a color blocking format. So these are two completely separate colors of foil where you actually, correct me if I'm wrong, you cut the pink material into strips first?
Yeah, so you cut the pink into strips, lay those out on top of the adhesive, and then take another foil sheet and lay over where adhesive is still exposed.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to strip out both sections. You just strip the pink and then you lay the complete layer of copper in this case, and it fills all those void areas that are uncovered. So getting a question on Facebook, can you layer adhesive on top of other materials? And I know we've done that successfully in the past. So combining it with, we've layered it on top of flock to create like a 3D dimensional effect that's been popular. You just have to watch, because whenever you're layering directly over top, you have to know that the foil comes next, and if there's a material underneath there, there is a chance that the foil can not only stick to your adhesive, it could stick to your background material.
Right.
You've had that experience before.
Yes, that actually
live on TV.
Yes, so that actually happened in the foil class that we were pairing it with a print cut. So it was actually express print we were pairing it with. I used the foil after the print cut part, and it just stuck right onto it.
And I know that was a surprise for you because we have layered it on top of fashion film, and it does not stick to fashion film. It'll kind of stick to the very edge of the fashion film where the adhesive squeezes out slightly, so you'll see a fine line of foil around the fashion film, which some people actually like.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so just test
it. Cool effect.
Yeah, test it, but it can layer, test the application before you take it into production mode or sales mode, but fashion film's a great one to pair it with.
Yeah.
Any other takeaways, questions on the foil process that came up during the class or during the show?
A lot of it was mostly just understanding that they could cut the adhesive out on their vinyl cutter, or if they don't have a vinyl cutter, they can still order those transfers through us with either CAD Cut Templates or sending in their artwork. Now, I know you had a couple questions about the pressure that they were using and it creating pinholes in the adhesive and the foil not adhering correctly.
Yeah, one of the top questions that I had from people that have tried the process is they were coming in and saying, I can't get as good of coverage as what you're getting right now with your application. I'm seeing openings and pinholing and sort of not complete foil coverage onto the adhesive. How do I fix that? And there's really two ways that you need to go about to address that. Number one is we always test the application settings first. And so where it's most missed on this one is the fact that the adhesive needs to apply down to the garment at a very light pressure. Very little pressure at all, just to get it to sort of sit on the surface of the garment. If you apply it with too heavy of a pressure, at that point, the adhesive buries into the fibers of the garment. You get what's called fibrillation, where the fibers are coming up through the adhesive, and that creates your little sort of void areas when I go to overlay the foil. So adhesive goes on at very light pressure, then you take your complete foil sheet and you crank up the pressure. Usually I say 2 to 3/4 turns on your heat press if you're on a manual machine, and just give it a medium to firm pressure, and that gives you good coverage. Now, if that doesn't work, then we really need to look at the surface of the garment, the quality of the garment we're applying to. If you buy an inexpensive cotton t-shirt, a lot of times it's an open-ended carded cotton. If you were to go with a magnifying glass or even more detailed to that to get to the fibers of the garment, you would see imperfections and small openings in the garment. So if you were to direct a garment print on those, you'd see the same issues with fibrillation and sort of drop out in the print, not a high quality. And so, but if you move to a tighter weave garment, like a ring spun or a tri-blend or 100% polyester.
Yeah, so this was done on 100% polyester, and it has a really nice smooth finish on it. I know we did a distress effect look on that, but you can see where the blue was an actual solid sheet there, and it has a great effect to it.
Yeah, so go to a tighter weave garment to get better coverage. And Colin, you are right. It's easier on a pneumatic press, as a comment that just came through Facebook, because then I don't have to turn the pressure knob. Our digital presses, which had a lot of interest, the Hotronics Air Fusion and Dual Air Fusion, actually can instantly change pressure in between applications. You can program actually up to 4 different pressure settings per preset. And so the first one at 20 psi, and then the next one at 40 to 50 psi. And so there were a lot of interest, just to sort of sidebar, in those air presses at the show.
Right, yeah, and I actually spoke with 2 gentlemen that were very interested in it, and that was actually one of the features that they really liked, not having to adjust the pressure manually.
Yeah, and I helped a lady invest in one that was having a hard time reaching the handle of her normal Fusion. And so it was much about having the 2-button operation up towards the front of the machine, which allowed her to operate at a more comfortable height because she didn't have to reach for a handle to lock it down and to unlock it. And so that was a benefit as well. And then the last one that I say sort of sealed the deal for many customers on the dual was the built-in laser alignment.
Right, right. So that makes it very easy for lining things up for a left chest logo or putting it directly center into the garment, or any other things that are very hard for lining up, especially if you're just trying to eyeball it. So
yeah, so I know that was it's always one of the hot products in the booth, and people love that we take those presses to the show and you get to experience them and lock them down. Those will be traveling to our larger shows as well. They don't go to all the small shows because they tend to be a little larger and take up more booth space. But during that foil class, you mentioned the ability to order the adhesive pre-cut, and that sort of segues very nice into our CAD Cut Templates class that Allison Zuccaro gave.
Go ahead.
All right, and so I was going to pull up the Templates Designer and sort of show you just a quick taste of what she presented. And so CAD Cut Templates is a new product offering from Stahls. This is our first really interactive online designer where you can order heat transfer vinyl in a variety of styles pre-cut to your door in exact quantities that you need it. Whether it's 1 or 1,000, you can order it. So basically you have to have a Stahls account to be logged in. I'm just logged into a demo account here. There's a lot of stock layouts that we've come up with to sort of start with that you see on the left side. And so the process is pretty simple. We're going to pick a layout that we like. If we want this design, it'll automatically show up on the screen, and then you'll be able to customize the text. So if we were doing something for Atlantic City, we can type in AC. We can change the Bulldogs to New Jersey, and it updates live on screen. Now, something really cool about this is there's also a lot of clip art involved. So if I would have picked the layout with clip art, it would have prompted me to swap it out, but I can still add clip art to the design screen. And there's a variety of mascots. There's things like food and drink categories, sports, different design elements, even states. So if I wanted to go and look for the state of New Jersey to drop into there, I can do that. Of course, I want to size it up. It comes in at a small height, but you can start to create and sort of move things around. You'll notice as you move this around, it sort of creates the knockout or garment gap between the design. So you start to build this all out, and then once you have it exactly the way you want it to look, of course you can size it to the size you want. So if I wanted this to be 9 inches wide, it'll size the height proportionally and then change the material. You can see it's going to cost me $8.26 per print in thermofilm. Let's say I'd love to have that in a glitter flake. And let's go ahead and colorize that with this green color of glitter flake. You can see the glitter texture showing up in the print. Price automatically changes based on size and quantity. So if I were doing this, let's say for 24 shirts, it brings the cost down for that full front design to $5.22. So you can save this. You can order directly from here. The whole concept is that once you create, it quotes the live price. Once I order, these come into me ready to just heat press. There's no weeding involved. All the work is done for me. And so the CAD Cut Templates really was a popular presentation, and it resonated with a lot of retailers, people that have retail stores that don't necessarily want to get into the all-out production of learning a cutter, weeding themselves. They just want to work the heat press and be able to print on demand. Yeah,
and I noticed this is actually popular with a lot of attendees that were also customers of Transfer Express.
Sure.
Because they're so used to using the EasyView Designer, and they were looking for something that they could do just like that with Stahls CAD cut material. So I think this was a really big hit with those guys.
And it complements that because with the EasyView Designer and with screen print transfer manufacturing, it really becomes cost effective around 15 pieces or 24 pieces, depending on the number of colors. And so this really becomes cost effective around a couple pieces. So it's really a way to do sort of low quantities where I don't have to burn a screen. We're just cutting it for you, sending it ready to apply. So that's pretty cool. You can order the adhesive in that process. You do need to buy the rolls of foil separate to combine with it. And then there was one more class, only one more class, right? The patterns class?
Right.
So the class I actually got to deliver was sort of launching our new CAD Cut Patterns wizard. And with this particular class, basically we were showing customers how they could design their own heat transfer vinyl in the colors that they wanted. And so I have a quick preview of the designer up on the Stahls site. And for those of you that attended last week, you saw this, but we're really excited about this. You go to CAD Cut Material section of the Stahls site, click on Patterns. It will launch the Patterns design screen, give you a little bit about the product, but basically we are able now to preview a pattern, completely choose a pattern. And so let me pick one with a lot of colors in it. Pick this paisley pattern because it has like 5 colors in it. So you choose the pattern from our 49 stock patterns, and then we start to colorize. So if I wanted to change the gray color, which would be the background of my design out, let's say I want to make that one a white for a nice fresh background. Then maybe I want to change this white color to a mint, change this voltage green to purple, and then you can start to build sort of on top of this and see the automatic changes, see the product visualization, all with the goal, once I've created this, and we do give you popular colorways, if I think, I like this particular pattern, I don't want to build from scratch. Once you customize that, you go to the order info, and now I can order that pattern customized to my needs in a 5-yard roll, 10-yard roll, even a 1-yard roll. Now this product comes to you without the masks, so it's very important that we understand that this product comes to you printed on a roll, and you can use it in 2 ways. I can use it for the popular rip-away applique process, which we've demoed a lot on Stahls TV, or I can cut this in a positive on my vinyl cutter, weed away the excess, and then apply a heat transfer mask to sort of lift up the design and expose it and get it ready to heat apply. Now I see Joe getting his marker board out, his dry erase board, to tell me that there are questions coming in. And so we have a question coming in. Actually, no, he's just telling me I'm already at 22 minutes. So there are some questions on Facebook. And let's see. Colin asks, need to trade my manual Hottronics for the Air model. $7,000 is a big investment though. True, Colin. The dual Air model is $7,000. You can go ahead and sort of tiptoe your way into the single Air Fusion for closer to around $4,000. But you certainly won't regret the investment in an air-operated press. Now we have some questions.
Okay, so Deb would like to know if she's able to save and download the CAD Cut design to her local computer and then cut the same design in her shop.
Okay, so good question. Unfortunately, right now, that is not a possibility through the CAD Cut templates or the patterns. All the files are contained within the Stahls website for you to order those pre-done. Eventually, they may be available for download, but right now and in the immediate future, meaning next 30 to 60 days, that's not a possibility, but that's something been requested and is on our radar for sure. Okay, we're pretty good on questions. So that's the pattern generator. That sort of wrapped up the classes at the show. Now, for those of you that didn't get to attend, we want to make sure we share some events because we have a really busy spring into summer. So let's go ahead and pop up that graphic. I'll be down at our Stahls, Texas location, which is just outside of Dallas, Texas on April 19th and 20th, giving 2 days worth of classes that are completely free to attend and sign up for. So if you're anywhere near the Texas area, you can visit the link that's up on the screen, stahls.com/heat-printing-education-classes. That's a mouthful. Give you a second to write that down. If you want to attend a trade show, you can go to the DAX show in Minnesota is coming up later this week. The following week, we have a booth at Everything Applique, and you'll be giving some classes along with Bob Robinson there.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
In Atlanta. Then we have DAX Tinley Park later in April. ISS Nashville, which will have another full-day workshop in education like we just completed in Atlantic City.
Get to see some of the stuff we showed today even.
Yeah, hands-on. And
Yeah.
so all of these classes can be, all of these shows rather, can be registered for at their respective websites that are up on the board right now. Find one close to you. And if you're interested in keeping up with our events, you can just visit stahls.com/events, and it typically has most of the things we're traveling to listed. We'd love to meet you all in person. All right.
Got to meet a lot of viewers in person in Atlantic City, actually.
Yeah, it's funny how people recognize you. Actually, there was one day I was walking back into the Tropicana where I was staying. It was kind of funny because these something happened where I had a couple security guards around me. And it wasn't anything I did, all right? I didn't get in trouble or anything. But I'm walking back in, and these security guys are sort of at the entrance around me. And do you believe a customer came down and actually thought I had my own security detail at a show?
That would be nice,
Oh,
but...
I completely lost it. But anyways, it was cool. I got my picture with them. And anyways, it's always fun to see our viewers and customers live at a show.
Yeah,
so one of the things we want to make sure we get to is Make It Monday, even though we're running sort of towards the end of today. And so let's head over to the heat press. I'll meet you there for our Make It Monday segment. All right, we're over at our Hotronix Fusion heat press, which is my favorite heat press, in case you're wondering. And the reason I like this heat press is because it swings away and it gives me a complete heat-free work zone, also interchangeable attachments for printing a lot of different items. Now, you're always going to run into that item that's difficult to print. Although there is a leg and sleeve platen for this heat press, I have a Lula Roe leggings, which are very popular right now, but these are a youth size. I'm actually making these today for my daughter, ordered them and brought them in, and I'm going to have to leverage a heat printing pillow because it would be tough to split and stretch this across our sleeve and leg platen because the legging tapers and is very thin on the print area that I'd like to hit. If you have been keeping up on Facebook or in your area, you know these Lula Roe leggings are extremely popular. So when you can print them, it gives you some opportunities to grow and be profitable. I have a small 5x18 heat printing pillow, which has sort of a low density surface. If you just have a flat press, this is a great way to print sleeves and legs. I'm going to take the leggings and I'm going to slide the pillow down through them. So I'll grab sort of the edge of the pillow and try to follow it down into the leggings to get a flat printing surface. I have the other side of the legging that I'm going to have to reach through and sort of try to pull in because you can see the pillow sort of getting jammed up as you load it. And I'm doing this in such a way that I have my complete area and I know that there is this seam around the side. So I'm trying to rotate that seam to hit the print location that I want, making sure the seam is centered on the back of the pillow because I want to hit the side print location of the particular legging. Once I have that loaded, I'm going to take my cover sheet and I'm going to conduct a preheat just to sort of flatten my print area. I believe these leggings are roller printed, not sublimated, from my understanding on the Lula Roe website through another print process. So I'm not that worried about dye migration, but I am worried a little bit about bleed through. And so for that reason, the last thing I want to do is put a really thin white base material on here because there may be some bleeding. So what I've done is I've chosen metallic silver as my print color instead of white. I'm going to complete the weeding live for you so you can see this process. This has been cut on a vinyl cutter out of our CAD Cut Premium Plus heat transfer vinyl, and then I'm going to complete the weeding of the application. Now I can see that a little piece of that wants to lift up here, so I may have to go back and fix that particular piece. I'll just peel that off and reposition it here in a moment. Weed off the excess. Anytime you're cutting Premium Plus, it helps to put the overcut setting into place because that overcut setting will help to sort of complete the cuts on the edges on the really thin, soft, stretchy materials. And that would have helped so that small little detail wouldn't lift up. I just cheated and cut it real quick on the fashion film setting before the show, which I should not have done. But I'm going to flip this over into place where I'd like it placed on the heat press. Cover it with my cover sheet. And Premium Plus, another reason I like it is it applies at a low temperature, so 280 degrees for 8 to 10 seconds. Also, this particular product has the stretch ability, the stretch and recover that I'm going to want on a legging application. So I'm going to apply this. I have the heat printing pillow in there. It is a warm to a cold peel application, so I'm going to give it just a few seconds to let it cool down. And actually, sometimes you'll need to remove it from the press to sort of cool it down here. Once you have it cooled down, going to remove the carrier from it. And we can see we have a completed legging application. Now, before you start stretching on this and sending it out the door, what I usually like to do is let the adhesive cool down so you can kind of see the look, but you can see that this has a lot of stretch and recovery to it. That's the benefit of Premium Plus. I'm going to get that flexibility when it's applied onto the item whenever it's actually being worn. So the tip here is if you want to print something like this that's patterned, number one is try to pick solid contrasting color that's going to stand out on this. When you're printing something that has a pattern, you really want to stay away from white if possible, so you're not going to get any bleed through, especially if it's roller printed like these leggings, which is just a screen printing process for printing in mass quantities like this. Also, consider leveraging the heat printing pillow if you don't have a press that has a sleeve and leg platen, and make sure you pick a material that's designed to perform with your garment. In this case, we did a stretch material that will work well on these leggings. That's it for this edition of Make It Monday. We'll meet you back at the desk.
That looked really cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
And I think my daughter will like them. So
I think so too.
She has quite a few pair of Lula Roe leggings, but these will be the first ones that are personalized. So I think there may be some others that follow after this now that we've completed that application and it works well. So one last thing before we conclude today's show. Number one is let's look for any final questions that we have coming in. On Facebook we have, so you can't cut designs out of CAD Cut and heat press like you do with vinyl. James asked that, so I'm not sure I understand that. If this is relevant to the CAD Cut Templates designer we were working in, basically that designer on the Stahls website is just for ordering the stuff pre-cut. If you want a design to cut yourself, you would use our CAD Works Live program to create designs to send to your vinyl cutter. That's how I created that design that I just completed on those leggings. And then Angela asked a question, no subless stop for bleed through. So when you're talking about decorating garments that may migrate, there's a couple different ways to address it. Subless stop is a reference to a special dye blocker on a heat transfer film that will actually prevent the bleed through. Unfortunately, we don't have a CAD cut material, a single color material that has a sub blocker. Otherwise, I certainly would have picked that. We have thermofilm that's a little bit more resistant to bleeding because it's thicker, but then I'm worried it's not going to stretch on those leggings. Right. And so for that reason, I picked a darker color or a metallic color of heat transfer film and basically picked something that's less likely to show bleeding that has the stretch I'm looking for.
And another concern with the thermofilm, it might be at too of a high temperature as well for something that thin and lightweight, so you don't want to ruin your garment either.
Right, 330 degrees. Glitter flake would have been a nice selection that wouldn't have showed the bleed through, but once again, I'm worried about the stretch and recovery. So good point, Angela. If I had a print cut system, certainly subless stop would be the optimal choice, and we're working on future solutions in CAD Cut that have that technology, so you know. And then question from Brian, what do I mean by overcut for the Premium Plus? And so what I mean by that is on cutters like the Graph Tack or the Roland cutters, you can enable a setting called overcut, where basically anytime a cut line meets another cut line, like on the, the tip of an A, or in that case, the very corner of that heart, it would have extended the cut a little bit each way, rather than just meeting and having an opportunity for a slight little hang up or a skip. It overcuts that area. And so it gives you cleaner cuts when weeding. You can do finer details by enabling that overcut when you're cutting extremely stretchy or extremely thick materials. I use it most often. All right. So I think that wraps up today's episode. We want to encourage you to be looking forward to our Stahls TV Blueprint visit to the company Cap Swag out of Berlin, New Jersey, where not only do we talk about integrating decoration and customization for a retail store that specializes in headwear, but we also were able to go out there and really get them operational with their first vinyl cutter investment, in their case, a Roland GS24. So those things will be coming up in the next month or so on Stahls TV. Until then, we'll see you next week on the Stahls TV Morning Show, or maybe out at Dax, Minnesota. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.